and welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. Of course, I am Nick Cameron, joined by my good friend, a man who's always there, a man whom I would do anything for, Klondike Bar Chakas. How we doing today, buddy?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
God damn, the kind of stuff they put on these Cannabis Corpse records.
Basically,
We are doing Cannabis Corpse, right?
we are not doing
Okay.
Cannibal Corpse. First 5 records.
Okay, this is gonna be fun. So thank you everybody for joining us this week for Cannibal Corpse. Yes, I do know. It's just I was gonna grab a Cannibal Corpse record and then I saw that I had that and I thought that was funnier. So enjoy that. It's from baked to I don't know, something about smoking pot and killing hillbillies, I think is what that record's about. I can't tell. It's probably better if I don't know. But if you are here for the first time, thank you very much. We do this in a very simple way. We have a greeting. We've done it. We do a beer check. I'm on it. We do a vinyl check, news check, shirt check, rocking on. And I got an update that everybody's waiting for this week. I've got it. Birthday from the birthday boy. Before we get there, though, my beer check this week. Mother's Little Helper. It is a delicious IPA. I believe this comes out of St. Louis, Missouri. Nope, Springfield, Missouri. Hey, Richie Randall. He's from Joplin, but close enough. I'm sorry, it's Southwestern Missouri. I'm sorry. I got my Duvel tulip glass. Finger fudge poured down the middle. Get back with us in a couple of weeks to find out what that's all about.
I feel like every time you mention Springfield from now on, we need to just have you sing Who Put the Spring in Springfield from The Simpsons.
If I could sing, I would do that.
I can sing, but I probably should sing less. No beer tonight because I misjudged the hotel I'm in here in Scranton, beautiful Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm on the East Coast. I'm closer in time zone to Nicholas, but I do have this Liquid Death koozie, and inside the Liquid Death koozie is a Diet Coke that came with my dinner.
Well,
So
if I had known that, I wouldn't have busted out the 19-ounce.
I'm gonna finger fudge
7%
pour
IPA.
Diet Coke into a hotel plastic drinky cup, just like it was a beer, because I have
Cheers
nothing else
anyway.
left for me. Yeah, it's all right, man. Cheers.
In case you're the YouTube hoppy and apparently saccharin hour.
Ass part of me. I'm probably gonna die from this shit.
They both cause cancer. It's fine. Not to make light of cancer. Don't cancel me or whatever. So I'm on season 6.1 of Sopranos. Just about to finish. I will have that finished by tomorrow night, which is good. It's been an interesting ride towards the end of the series. Americans run out of things to do in television shows, but keep making them. And here we are seeing I have been to gay bars. I have been to leather bars. I have been to gay, disco, country, cowboy bars. I mean, I've been to them all. However, when you got Vito going to the leather bar, just gonna say it kind of takes me. It kind of took me out of the fantasy there.
I get it. It's actually pretty accurate to my experience at leather bars in San Francisco. So I have to say,
no, not that part.
Pretty...
Just the fact that is now part of this show.
Okay, well, as is intolerance. Anywho, so yeah, good times. Enjoy the end of Sopranos, at least part 1 of that season. Yeah. What else is new? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. We are at light of the end of the tunnel of getting the other house ready to be sold. So another meeting with the realtor last week, another meeting with the realtor on Friday, and my life will change in a lot of great ways, and some ways that aren't as great. I'm going to lose my clubhouse. But nobody wants to hear about me complaining about my lifestyle and my wonderful things. So I'm going to vinyl check something I picked up, and I saw it at Vintage Vinyl for $17, and I passed on it because it was a short week. And I didn't have a whole lot of ducats. Bought the kid something instead. Speaking of what I bought the kid, bought her a copy of A Nice Pair by Pink Floyd this week, which is, of course, Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Saucer Full of Secrets that I came across at an antique mall. And I'm not going to say where because it's a new antique mall and their selection is amazing. So I'm keeping that one close to the vest for a minute because
Gatekeeping the antique mall so
I'm
he can
not
get better
gatekeeping it.
vinyl.
Yes, I'm keeping that one close to the vest. But I saw this at Vintage Vinyl. It was $17. I thought about it for weeks. And honestly, the whole time I'm fighting myself thinking, you already have a live record by this band. And that's all you have is, and in the end, I am a whore, or as they say in the Sopranos, I am a hua for the live record. So I picked it up. Sepultura, live in Sao Paulo. Now, this is, I have not, I haven't actually cleaned this one because I had to get a second one because the first one, both discs were severely warped. It still played, but I decided, you know what? There's no reason for me to deal with that if I don't have to. So I returned it to Amazon. Actually, I still got to do that sitting on my buffet table in the dining room. And I just asked them to send out a new one. I checked it, and this one is not warped. You can see we got a good flat record. This color is called Gray Smoke. I was very excited. However, those of you watching on YouTube will see it is not Gray Smoke. It's silver and black splatter. And frankly, they cheaped out on the black. But it's a great record, and this is not the classic lineup of Sepultura, but frankly, you're never really going to notice. Just as good as anything they had done before that.
Stay tuned for a Sepultura news piece momentarily.
Oh, and I am now, because I'm a tool, in the habit of keeping the hype stickers. Because I might sell it later, because I might sell everything later. Life is impermanent. Your records are impermanent. And sometimes you got to pay that electricity. You got to pay that power bill. So keeping that crap for going forward. But that's all I got in one check this week.
Is that my turn? Okay, you only
Yeah,
one. I felt like you had two there. So believe it or not, from the road, I have a deuce today. And I'm so extra, I had to bring records with me across the country to check for this vinyl check. Don't know if I'm going to have one next week, but I damn sure have one this week. I have two. And so, much to Nick's chagrin, one of my favorite words ever to exist, I was gratefully sent by Magnetic Eye Records the two Redux series Soundgarden records. So Soundgarden Super Unknown Redux and Best of Soundgarden Redux vinyls. I'm going to do a larger unboxing and review of this on the Ghost Cult Mag YouTube channel and other socials and websites soon, but I'm going to do just a quick runny of these guys. Wonderful thing that Magnetic Eye likes me enough to send me a thing for free.
I hope you enjoy that. I really do.
I know you are not a fan. I don't understand you, how you could not be a fan of one of the greatest bands ever, but okay. Nice job, Magnetic Eye. Paper with the mylar. Normalize the mylar.
I can see it.
This is Super Unknown Redux. And it's not just Magnetic Eye bands, but it's all stoner doom, psychedelic rock, stoner rock bands. This is on a beautiful creamy white.
Yeah, I have the Wall Redux by Magnetic Eye, and I have the Best of Pink Floyd Redux by Magnetic Eye.
I have many of these.
Both amazing.
Look at these cool, like you really can't appreciate the video here, but these are this very cool cut out design of the artwork. And I don't have the track listings ready, which is unfortunate. And I'm not going to unbox both of these, but take my word for it. The Best of Soundgarden's on a very cool splatter. Just for the Super Unknown portion of the Redux, let's just quickly run down the bands on here. Many of these were released as singles. Ufa Mammoet, Let Me Drown. High Priest, Merson Nadler, Fell on Black Days. Samnuri, brand new album out now on Monarch Heavy. Mailman, one of my favorite songs. Valley of the Sun, another killer band, Super Unknown. Title track. Frail, Head Down. This was a single and video. Big fan of Frail from Cleveland, Ohio. Spotlights, who I recently interviewed Mario, Black Hole
Big
Sun.
shout out to Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus this week in Ohio. If you know, you know.
All right, don't know at all. Spoonman, Horseburner, Witch Mountain, very rare appearance from Witch Mountain, who is kind of on a hiatus right now.
Real quick, the 3Cs voted for freedom and carried the freedom.
Oh,
in
nice.
Ohio
Okay,
this
that's
week.
important. That is important. I'm glad you mentioned that. Even to interrupt my vinyl check, I'll allow it in this case. Witch Mountain, Limo Wreck, Day I Tried to Live, Beast Wars, another underrated stoner rock band, Jack Harlan and the Dead Crows, Kickstand, You Had the Juice to Fill My Cup, Fresh Tendrils, The Age of Truth, 4th of July, that's Mark Uselli's Steppin' Doom, Imagine Stoner Doom with like Mongolian throat singing, and world music, Dozer, Half, very strange song, and the closer, Like Suicide by Darker. If you know, you know, as you like to say. So that's just, I'm not going to totally check the second guy, but this is amazing. I'm really glad they sent this to me. I'm going to do, like I said, a very in-depth review of this.
If I can start getting free records, I'll start writing for you on the regular.
Might be able to make it happen.
I'll
give you a vinyl
shit.
column. I'd give you the next big classic metal album to classic
I will
revisited.
You know, I'll do that. I'm happy to do that. Let me say that is a brand new band list based on the Redux I have. Although the Wall Redux is headlined by the Melvins, who completely ruined In the Flesh.
Dude, you're killing me, Smalls.
Sorry, they did. They changed it.
They had to. Like, it's not meant to be a straight up cover.
I know, but they changed.
They made it their own, and it's weird and great. I love the Melvins.
Weird and wrong. With the cover of When the Tigers Broke Free, which is added back into the wall. Beautiful. Beautiful. I believe that was Year of the Cobra, now that I think about it. Beautiful record. But if I've got two news stories. This is a recurring news subject. So if you want to go, if you've got any, I got one quick one and one great one.
Go. I already know what one of them is. I'm going to be mad. Go ahead.
First one, of course, is Dark Side of the Moon Redux, which is not the Magnetic Eye Reduxes. It is the Roger Waters Redux, which has the stupidest cover I've ever seen. It is a copy of It is a picture of Roger holding a picture of Dark Side of the Moon reflecting into a dog's pupil. Stupid. Dog seems nice, and I don't like dogs, but that's just Nick. I did listen to Money, which was the first single, and for the first 2 minutes, it was amazing. However, it does go on for 7. I am still going to buy it. The pre-order link is now up and live. Amazon does have a particularly lovely cover, and I will probably needle Keefy into doing a chaser on it. I did not work on the last Roger Waters record, but I got a good feeling for this one. And
who asked for this? No one wants this. No one needs this.
I don't want
just this. Roger being petty toward David
completely
and Nick. And Nick is like, I think it's going to be okay, like the last one.
Yeah, he's being petty to me too.
Roll over, Nick Mason. I love you, but he's going to roll over and show his belly to Roger, and Roger's going to go, "Who's a good drummer? Who's a good drummer? Who's my favorite drummer? Who's my favorite drummer?" That's what Roger's going to do to Nick, and Nick is going to be like, he's going to
what Roger whippy leg. Do you know what Roger's going to do to this Nick? Bend over, buddy. Yes, take that wallet out. Let me just go ahead and take that Amazon Prime credit card. Let me just whoop down your butt cheeks.
For a guy who's a diehard Marxist, he sure is a really great capitalist. I got to tell you.
I have never heard him say he was a Marxist, socialist, not Marxist. Let's be clear. And besides, I don't think. Well, I mean, you can't really be anyway. I'm not getting into that today. I will go for decades. However, I am loath to admit I'm gonna buy this stupid thing. I don't want it, but side 4 is all original music. So that's how he did it. That is how he got people like me who did not ask and did not want this, who would much rather listen to either the live version or the studio version of Dark Side of the Moon. That is how he's getting my credit card out of my pocket. Now, any final thoughts on that? If you want to go 30 seconds, know, I completely agree with everything you said. However, I also have no strong principles on this. So now, the birthday boy, Vinnie Motherfungin Vincent. has just released a statement on his current career, and which is the current concert coming up, which is no longer the Head Choppers Ball, but is now Rocktoberfest. I don't know who made that change, but that is what it is now. So, hey everyone. Wow, wow, wow. I am so overwhelmed with the outpouring of birthday wishes. You guys are so amazing, so great, and I heart all of you. It was so kind of you to think of sending these messages, and I loved reading them all. Probably about 10. It's weird, but I don't think of terms in age years. I never did. I feel the same energy level, if not more than I did during the Kiss years. I was 30 when I joined Kiss. It still seems like yesterday. What's even more strange to me is that I'm at my creative peak and my most prolific period yet. How many records has he released and concert tours has he done in the past 5 years? 0 and 0, but he's at his prolific and creative peak. In that way, I've changed. There's a cornucopia of music flowing from me that I've never witnessed before, and I'm documenting it all with plans to release everything in the near future. Just for the record, we have now had 4 release parties for a record that is not out yet. Sorry.
I wish we had made enough money to send you to one, so you could see it and be there in person, and then we do a story. Like,
No.
I wish.
No.
Yeah, you deserve it. You really deserve to go.
No. May I finish?
But you protest a lot, but you keep doing these stories, so you don't
I
protest.
love them. May I finish? I have an elite music team who have been in the trenches with me, recording and near finishing 4 albums of material. The best Vinnie Vincent is coming. Vinnie Vincent Invasion, Judgment Day, Guitarmageddon Part 1 is coming first. This is the 5th announcement of this record. The 5th. The official Vinnie Vincent Robert Fleischman Nitroglycerine Firestorm is coming soon. Stay tuned, stay loyal, and stay Vinnie Vincent forever with a 4. I will see you all at VV Rocktoberfest on October Friday 13th weekend, Starstruck Entertainment, blah, 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 blah. So, Vinny, release a single before you drop 5 consecutive records over the course of 6 weeks, maybe.
I have no notes on Vinnie Vincent unless you do.
A lot of talk, little action. It reminds me of Lake of Fire by the Meat Puppets. Who needs action when you've got words? Prove me wrong, Vinny. Prove me wrong.
I wish he would. I wish he would make the most amazing, great album ever.
I would look if he releases anything on Amazon, not on VinnieVincent.com, because that's like Kolkata Indian scamming going on right there. That's McAfee subscription stuff. If you release it on Amazon, I will pre-order it. I will buy it, and we will do a 3-episode series on it.
I don't think 3. I think 1.
It'll never happen, so don't worry. I said it.
All righty. I have 2 quick news items, and then do we want to do any Metallica as a news item?
I thought you were going to give me 5 minutes on...
5 minutes. You could set the clock on it. Let's do the 2 short ones first. Sepultura. Andreas Kisser was on a podcast yesterday where the current version of Sepultura is going to embark on a 40th anniversary tour next year. A 40th anniversary tour that does not include Max and Igor, and it would not, of course, because those parties don't talk except through lawyers. I'm in the camp that I love the current version of Sepultura that is Sepultura, that honors the Sepultura legacy and makes new music that rules. I love Derek Green. Andreas, although not a founding member of Sepultura and was not in Sepultura, I think, for 3 or 4 years, maybe 87 is his first appearance in the band, 86, 87.
Sounds right.
When he came in, he was a full-fledged writing partner, lyricist, occasional vocalist. Like, you can't discount his value to the
No, it's not like Foreigner out there where that band is not the band that did any of the songs they're playing. He recorded all the songs you're hearing.
And even though Max basically did the bass on most of the Sepultura records until Roots, Paulo has been in the band for 35 years. So it's unfair to say that those guys are not also, again, legitimately, do they not have a stake in the name Sepultura? They were in the band for a long time. They've kept it going. Eloy is one of the world's greatest drummers. You'd be an idiot to say otherwise. Derek has been tremendous, and the albums with Derek are excellent, in my personal opinion. That's my opinion. A lot of people hate him, don't like him. Even at the Creator Sepultura show that I was at recently, people were sneering at the band and like walked out on them. So like whatever. That's number one. I don't have a problem with this. The metal media tried to make this into a whole story. Like, how dare they go out without? Well, how dare Max and Igor re-recording the first two records by themselves? Like, it's equal, right? It's the same.
I don't need that.
Well, it's not that I don't need it. They're very well done.
It's fine.
It's like those records have gotten a whole new life to me. But it's like there's never going to be a meeting of the way. They're never going to come together and gel. There's never going to be like I don't think there's going to be a Sepultura reunion of the classic lineup. I don't think so. I think Max and Igor and Gloria are in their camp, and Derek and Andreas and the rest of the guys are in their camp, and there's never, the twain shall never meet. But it's going to hold us back from getting things like maybe a Chaos AD or a KSAD vinyl reissue or something. It's just never going to happen.
You can actually still get them.
You can get them, but like I don't think they're remastered or good.
I haven't heard them.
Yeah. So that's just my opinion. I don't think they've been redone. I think they're just kind of recorded, digital to vinyl, which we've established we don't want. So that's one. Number two, Ghost Cult Mag today premiered the brand new song from Mega Ran.
Yay!
Nick is a huge fan, apparently. I'm a recent fan. Mega Ran.
I'm 6 seconds from pullouts. So
careful. So Mega Ran has a new record coming out. Friday is the official holiday of the 50th
anniversary. Worker, that one.
The unofficial 50th anniversary of rap is on Friday, August 11th, as we're recording this, when this will debut. And he has put out a song, The Story of Rap. Mega Ran's new album is actually a children's rap album dedicated to his young child. And The Story of Rap is meant to be, it's a children's song, like a ska punk with a rap. It's pretty cool. We put out the single and the video, debuted at Ghost Cult today. It's kind of a cool thing.
Anybody guessed on that one?
No, but he's got some guests on the album, including Whitney Payton, who I'm a huge fan of. So very nice.
Cool.
And I think it's pretty cool. There's an outside chance we're going to get Mega Ran as a guest on the Glacially Musical Podcast. I don't want to jinx it, but I kind of just did. I hope I didn't, but I might have. And, it's cool to get out of our box. I think one of the cool things about Ghost Cult is that we are not metal something, blank metal website. We are Ghost Cult. It could mean anything. And we've been able to take chances, take risks, and do things that other websites would be scared to do or would not do. So when I got offered to do a thing with Mega Ran, I said, hell yes, brother.
I demanded you do it.
I didn't really ask, but yes, I would have done.
I know you didn't ask, but I still.
Yes, it was. You were excited. I'm excited, and I hope we get to get him on as a guest.
And that's how Glacially Musical started. It was never a metal site. It became one later due to the metal PR dogpile machine. Because, oh my God, you do a death metal record and your inbox is now flooded with the most obscure death metal, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kyoto, Sao Paulo. It's all coming.
I wish you were exaggerating, but you are 100,000% not exaggerating. So that's my 2 of my 3 news items. So I'm going to try. You monitor the time. We are at the 29. Yeah, you monitor the time. I
think the actual meat of the episode this week is going to be strongly big in the lead up,
and then quick,
and then slim. And I gotta, if you don't mind, I really want to set this up.
You should, as you should. I have only one anecdote for the entire origin story of Cannibal Corpse. So I went on Friday with my best friend for life, Curtis Dunlap, as we know from the Red Hot Chili Peppers series.
Shut.
Yeah, that's it. We went to see Metallica on night 1 of the 2 nights at Giant Stadium. Not Giant Stadium, MetLife Stadium. Sorry. I used to go to Giant Stadium 20-something years ago when I had season tickets for football when I lived in the area. So I flew across the country. I went to Philadelphia. I bussed to New York. I spent 1 night in my hometown. It was glorious. I ate a bacon, egg, and cheese from the deli. And then we took the PATH train under the river over to Hoboken, went to Hasbrook Heights, got in an Uber, went to the stadium, saw Prong in
Real
the
quick,
stadium.
Hoboken is my favorite city name. Continue.
It's a great name, Hoboken. It is not because of hobos, by the way.
It's up there with Poughkeepsie
Poughkeepsie is also great. I've spent quite a lot of time in Poughkeepsie, especially at shows,
at the
metal
Chance.
shows. Yep, the Chance. I've been to the Chance. I have been to all the things. So also the Mid Hudson Civic Center when I saw a Pantera, Machine Head, and Cold Chamber in a blizzard one year, and almost died coming home. So let's talk about this show really quick, 5 minutes or less. So we already know night one of Metallica in North America. 2 years, 2 legs, 2 dates in every city, no repeats. I went only to night one. On when night two was happening, I was here in Pennsylvania, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, watching Pantera, Lamb of God, and Child Bite for another time. Get to the stadium. Prong goes on 45 minutes late, but still plays 12 songs on a pop-up stage in the parking lot. Just absolutely epic.
Just for the record, did not know pop-up stages were going to be a thing on this tour.
Yes, I don't know if there's one in St. Louis. Is there?
Probably.
So.
There's no
Texas.
There's no significant parking lot at the Dome, so
right.
There's one place it could be, which was the official like Battlehawks and Rams parking lot for stuff, but you wouldn't be able to keep anybody out.
What band would they get? Black Fast? Like what band is from
Terminal Waste?
Oh, maybe.
There's there's more. There's another one. Torchlight Parade. Danny. Danny should be there, of course.
Well, like at the level of Prong and Overkill, I don't think
there's a nobody.
So I think they're doing the pop-up stages in LA, New Jersey, and Texas, maybe Chicago. And there will be a pop-up shop. There will be events all over town. We'll see how ambitious we feel in a few days. Prong was amazing. Played a new song. Played almost all their greatest songs. Maybe could have played another deep cut or a hit that they left out, but great show. They have a pretty much brand new band. They were amazing. It was great to see a lot of my friends in the parking lot who I haven't seen since I moved away. Go into the stadium. It's a cluster bomb of people. I've only been there in the building one time since it opened. It's surreal how it's a giant advertisement for Pepsi. I don't love it. Literally, even the building inside.
We know.
Not good. But it was wonderful to see everybody. Wolfgang Van Halen, Mammoth WVH, incredible, brand new album out now, great energy, great singing, shredding guitar, a lot of confidence. He was also very humble about how wonderful and amazing and crazy it was. Pantera, I was very skeptical of anything with this Pantera thing. I was very vocal about Zakk Wylde and my feelings, even though he was best friends with those guys. They absolutely killed. They were great. Philip was humble. Everything was dedicated to Diamond Vinnie. Multiple instances of shout outs of their names. Chance of Dimebag. Charlie Benante just absolutely slayed. If you closed your eyes, you heard Vinnie Paul. His kit sounds like Vinnie Paul, triggered exactly. He played everything. I'll give Zakk his flowers. No one should talk any shit about him. He was great and covered every riff. And like 85 to 90% of the solos, pretty faithful, with a little bit of Zakk Wylde in there, and not the crazy pinch harmonics constantly. Just did it his way. A lot of extra shredding and bluesy soloing and stuff that he's known for. And no complaints, man. Philip sounded good. Rex looked great. And it was a little weird watching them. I've only seen Pantera one other time in a big stadium, and that was at the old Giant Stadium during an Ozfest that was so lit that when Pantera was going to come on, like one band ended and Pantera was the next to last band before Ozzy, and the people in the bottom ring of the stadium leaped over the wall to run onto the field to fill up the floor. And the security just like laid down and didn't stop anybody. So that was back then in 1997.
Yeah, I saw that Ozfest, and that was the biggest pit I ever saw on that lawn.
And it was madness. And Pantera was easily the best band that day, including Ozzy, who was still pretty much in his prime. 90s prime. So great job by Pantera. Metallica, incredible all the way around. James dominated. I think the band, it's interesting to me that they weren't as tight as I expected because they just got off tour 3 weeks earlier in Europe, and they still seem kind of very loosey-goosey, especially Kirk and Lars. But generally speaking, masterful performance, incredible visuals, great set list. No complaints. I mean, they were flawless. Not flawless, but they were like, for a Metallica fan, and I have seen them now 6 times in 2.5 years, they were spot on most of the night. Not flawless, but spot on. I think I've seen them twice where they were actually flawless. or 3 times. This is not one of those times, but I still think most fans would have loved to see what I saw. And if this is an indicator of what they're doing the rest of the tour, everybody's going to be happy.
Don't ask any follow-ups, but I will say this and only this. I was not blown away by the set list. There weren't, I want the deep cuts. And that's the follow-up. There weren't really any deep cuts. I looked at the set list both nights, and imagine, basically a 40-song set list from Metallica. They're playing the 40 songs they can play. So it makes sense. I get it.
I will say this. If your favorite band or one of your top 3 favorite bands opens up with your favorite song, 10 of 10. You want every time. I want every band I love to open up with my favorite. Creeping Death is the opener. I was like, thank you. Good night. I'm good. Like, amazing.
Nailed
amazing.
it. Nailed it.
And they did nail it. And I will say that Creeping Death was just incredible.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
Gonna cut you. We're gonna do shirt check. Don't give me your usual shirt check. Give me the fast one. Kiss solo records, super long. Keefy,
Gimme Metal and my Paul Bearer hat.
The hat check was not approved. Omar, cut this.
I'm gonna play this for him so he hears you say, Omar, cut this. Omar does not edit these. He edits my other.
I know. That's why it's funny, because there's nobody doing that. I just know Omar's name. He seems like a great guy. Anyway, so let's move on to the meat of the episode. Cannibal Mother Fudging Corpse. The vast majority of Americans, the first time they ever heard those 2 words put together, were when they saw the readable metal logo of Cannibal Corpse behind them with giant hair and riffing and just this nodding of heads and this amazing swoosh of hair on Jim Carrey while he wore a Hawaiian t-shirt. And it was in, of course, his hit movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which we now all have to hate because it has a trans joke. Been reading a lot of stuff, and I'm sorry I grew up in the 90s, and the 90s were the 90s and the 80s were the 80s. And moving forward, that was not the first time I had heard of Cannibal Corpse. Personally, my first mention of Cannibal Corpse was from my old friend Tom Ward. Tom Ward is one of those very special friends I had who were a lot like my cousins that introduced me to new music. This is the man that introduced me to Eazy-E, to NWA, and he heard of Gwar. He would have introduced me to Gwar if he hadn't been beaten to the punch by my friend Hardy. So how he was getting into these bands in rural Missouri in the late 80s and early 90s, I will never know, because we've lost contact, because he was a bad influence on me. But I remember him telling me about Cannibal Corpse and telling me about Gwar and all these things. Cannibal Corpse, though they were not the first death metal band, to release an album, they weren't first in anything. They are the most famous. Like Eddie Van Halen, they did not invent what they did, but they did popularize it. So, Cannibal Corpse. Let's get into the chug-a-lug machine. Get into the DeLorean. Pop the flux capacitor. Let's hit 88 miles per goddamn hour. We land in August of 1990. 1990, we are knee deep into the first Bush administration. And I don't mean the first of 2 Bushes. I mean the first of 2 George Bushes, not the first of 2 terms by George H.W. Bush. And we are now going headlong into recession. We are months away from America's first legitimately called, not declared, war in 20 years. Americans, by and large, myself included, are watching CNN, because CNN was one of the very first 24-hour news networks. We get home, we eat dinner, we watch the war. So anything you can say about Cannibal Corpse or Death or Obituary or Morbid Angel or Deicide or Master or Possessed, I'm going to stop name dropping now. Anything you can say about any of those bands.
Don't forget Death and Immolation.
Did I not say Death?
I don't think
so. Thought I said Death. Okay. And Death and Immolation. Everybody's heard my Immolation story. I don't have time this week. Get me next week. Anything you can say about any of those bands and how terrible and awful they are for glorifying this. everybody who was alive at that time turned on a war. To quote Roger Waters, people were going to the bar and turning on the war on television. I watched it. So here we have a band singing about horror movies, about violent fantasies. But that's just what they were. They were fantasies. We didn't they didn't have Scud missile videos that they were playing at their concerts. They weren't Scud missiles. Although Chris Barnes might try to tell you different. I'm hoping we get blocked by Chris Barnes on this. I haven't been blocked by him yet. So August of 1990, already we have Death's first record, Leprosy. We have Obituary's first record, Slowly We Rot. Holy shit, Lunchbox. 1990 is when it all pops off. Obituary, before that, or not Obituary, excuse me, Cannibal Corpse moves from Buffalo, New York, down to Tampa, Florida. Why? Because that's where their music is happening. It makes more sense that it started in Buffalo. Let's be honest. I mean, Tampa, you got theme parks, you got whatever. It's happy, it's lovely. It's kind of like San Francisco, the Bay Area creates thrash metal. But what creates death metal? Like all great genres of music, it is a melding of two things. Thrash metal is the melding of punk and new wave of British heavy metal. When I spoke to Paul Speckman, when I interviewed Paul Speckman of Master, he described his version of death metal as taking Motorhead and making it heavier. Now, Master and the band that he had leading up to Master are not the same kind of death metal as everybody else. So it's different. What you have with the Tampa Bay scene is it's thrash metal combined with Motorhead. Yes, there's a similar starting place, but there's a second influence. I mean, Motorhead really doesn't fit in any genre or subgenre of metal. I can't place them. They're not speed metal. The closest thing I would call them is sludge metal 20 years before anybody ever said those two words together. So, but Lemmy's vocals were deeper and growlier, almost there, halfway there. You take that, you take Gene Simmons live, and then you add a megaphone to it, and you get Chris Barnes, you get John Tardy, you get David Vincent, you get Glenn Benton. So here we are, 1990, and 3 classic debut records of bands that, if you love this genre, are not just names, but legends in your brain.
The greatest table setter of all time, Nicholas Aloysius Cameron. Everybody.
I like to set a scene. Funny, the best compliment I ever got on a concert review I ever wrote was for Cannibal Corpse touring with Obituary.
That must have been some tour. I would say I don't have any notes for you. That's pretty great. I have no demonstrations or anything about what you said. I am still curious. Like, I understand why Buffalo is great and terrible at the same time, and why so many death metal bands hail from Williams, New York, for some reason, whatever it is, Williamstown.
Buffalo is St. Louis. We are the same kind of city. We're a Rust Belt factory city with terrible weather. And we
Don't
are
get me
both
too excited to come there. Jeez.
We're both in that around 20th size in the country. 20th, the 20th largest city in America. It's significant. It's big. That's huge compared to the rest of the world. But in America, we're not only overshadowed by New York, Philadelphia, the Twin Cities, Los Angeles, Seattle, Tampa, all of the Floridas, Dallas, Houston. Our friggin' neighbor, our damn baseball, hockey, everything rival also overshadows us. And they've only been overshadowing us since they took over the rail industry and killed us. They killed the steamboats and killed us. Fuck you, Chicago. Bring back the shoes and
Jesus.
the Browns.
What the hell?
Sorry.
God, I'm going there soon. Don't make waves, man.
I want to
get along.
Chicago. I wish we were Chicago.
I get it. So yeah, I don't know why So many, and I will say that like what people don't know about Buffalo is proximity to Niagara Falls,
Very close.
huge punk rock legacy and history
Mhm.
there, both pre and post death metal birth, and Buffalo as a seasoning, Buffalo spice, Buffalo chicken, Buffalo wings, right? They do come
Let me
from
tell
that.
you, anchor wings, over anchor bar wings, overrated.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but like, who
I've
doesn't like
been there.
who doesn't like a spicy wing?
My best friend lived in Buffalo for 8 years.
And you of Buffalo, where a lot of people go to school. It is a college town, also. I don't know if
Yeah,
St.
I've
Louis is
actually
a
seen
college town.
University of Buffalo hockey.
Okay, then. So yeah, it's curious that this confluence of many emergent death metal bands came from this scene that you would not typically have predicted would have happened, but it did. And then they all
Correct.
kind of relocated to Tampa because the weather was nicer and they had a little bit of
Well,
money.
in Morrisound Studios.
Morristown Studios.
If you give me a couple minutes on Morrisound Studios, that is actually a big part of this record. They relocated specifically to Tampa. I think I made a joke about why they did that. No, they did that because of slowly we rot and Leprosy by Death. Morrisound Studios is ground zero for the American death metal movement. They were the first studio ever to really be able to record the double bass blast beats. And if you listen to this record, which I did twice today, thank you, you really don't hear them like you do in a couple of years on Cause of Death, on Legion, on the next Death record, which the name escapes me. I'm not a big fan of Death. But
Human.
okay.
Human's the first one where you actually really hear it because the drumming is so
Yeah, and then
intricately recorded.
when you get to Covenant by Morbid Angel, those blast beats are like a machine gun into each ear,
We
which is the
we
way it should be.
we could do an entire whole episode on drumming differences between thrash metal, which inspired all this stuff, and the death metal, the evolution of death metal drumming and recording. A whole episode probably on it. But
Let's not do that.
yeah, we could. I will say there's just two quick anecdotes for myself about Cannibal Corpse, which is I foretold before, which is I first heard of Cannibal Corpse on a mixtape months before this album came out. And I was absolutely floored. I had never heard anything like it. I definitely had heard some death metal. I was a big thrash kid. Had never heard anything like this. It was mind altering how crazy it sounded to me.
And for it can't be understated how much the idea of metal subgenres did not exist. In 1988, in 1989, thrash metal existed, death metal existed, but we just all called it heavy metal. We called it all heavy metal. Rat, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Morbid Angel were all the same genre in our brains.
Sort of.
I mean, they shouldn't have been, but they were.
There was definitely some striations, but I will say that they were definitely, and I will say that they just seemed like, even in this raw tape that I heard, very advanced musicians. Not just so that they were heavy, but they were technical. And I think this is the thing that we will discover that sets this band apart from everybody else. They were really way technical comparatively to their peers.
When I saw them the first time, the roadies are holding their guitars, waiting for them to come on stage. And the roadies for Cannibal Corpse are whipping out riffs that are better. The roadies again. The road crew is riffing better than 80% of all thrash bands I've ever seen, not named Metallica. Up there with Megadeth, with Testament. I mean, they're just. Danny and I are at this show, and he looks at me and he goes, "Damn, I wish I could do that." I'm like, I know, we all do. Everyone in this crowd right now wishes we could do what a roadie just did.
Fair, very fair. And then I will also say that I think there is something to just the secret sauce of these guys. They came from different like scene bands that were all impressive in their own way in the underground. And some of them had been in bands with others, so there was a chemistry already, a familiarity. And yeah, just a confluence. You know, a lot of bands just form and that's it. It's these guys came all as a package, like a sheet of cookies in a package of cookies, like all in a row. These guys came like an Avengers of death metal guys in Buffalo from other bands, and I think that absolutely factored into why this band started out so strong and stayed strong.
Completely agree. There's not a drop off, and there could be, and we'll get into those reasons later. But if you don't mind, let's move into the actual record itself. We have been going on as we do, and this record starts off with Shredded Humans, and I mean, let's call a thing what it is. The titles of this record and every record are laughable. My favorite title is Hammer Smashed Face because it's hysterical.
I mean, after Hammer Smashed Face and I Come Blood, what else is there in lyrics? Nothing.
There's one, but I'm not going to say it.
I know which
So,
one.
yeah, we all know which one. The one about knives.
Oh,
Anywho,
I was yeah, that one. I was thinking of another one, but okay.
I was thinking of the one about the singular knife.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I mean, the titles are silly, over the top, to the point where you can't take them seriously. These are the Mr. Bean of violent fantasy.
I was gonna say, I just feel like, you know, early death metal records, you have two choices: Satan or serial killers. And Slayer did Satan and serial killers better than anybody.
They did
as
satanic serial killers.
satanic serial killers, as well as war and famine and torture and things. So it's not a varied bunch of topics. But what I will say about this group, like, you know, we've never really, I hope we do this by the end of the series. What is a cannibal corpse? Is it a zombie that eats?
Did you see that this album was dedicated to Alfred Packer?
Yes.
Alfred Packer.
Alfred Packer, the notorious serial murderer. Yes.
No,
And
the
cannibal.
notorious cannibal. The
Cannibal.
only person in America to be tried for cannibalism.
Right.
The subject of the amazing movie, produced by Troma Pictures, written by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, Cannibal the Musical.
Yes, Cannibal the Musical.
And anytime I get to reference that movie, I have a very spredoinkle day.
I get it.
References.
Let's say this album is not a concept album, but it might
No.
as well be a concept album about how many songs can we write about cannibalism and murder.
Correct. I assume that's what it's about. When it comes to death metal, I mean, apart from bands like Morbid Angel and Obituary, sometimes I really can't tell what they're saying. I don't care. It's not about what they say because I don't want to know, probably. What I do want to know is how it feels. And I did an interview with one of the nameless ghouls from Ghost when he was promoting the TID band, which was Ghost, before Tobias Forge joined them. And he asked me, his last answer to my interview was, let me leave you with a question. You're interviewing me. This album is in Swedish. How does that work for you? You know, how are you listening to this album you can't understand? That's death metal.
Did we say the name of the album is Eaten Back to Life, by the way? I don't think we did.
No, it is Eaten Back to Life. It's got two covers.
The main album cover is unbelievable. It's the very first ever collaboration they did with Vincent Locke.
Man, why did Dan Quayle ever talk about them on a...
I think like every band was trying to outdo each other at this point, visually, verbally.
It's more than just the death metal bands trying to outdo each other. What else is popping in America in 1989, 1990? What's happening?
Gangster rap. And
band in the USA. Two Live Crew is blown up. They are on their second record now, which is Banned in the USA, followed up, which is their follow-up to As Nasty as They Want to Be. So the Satanic Panic is over, boys. We got to get to the moral. We got to get QAnon after us now. And they did it. They got Dan Quayle talking about Cannibal Corpse, a band no one's ever heard of, instead of Two Live Crew and Body Count. Nailed it.
I do want to take one more second and say, you know, respect forever to Brian Slagle, who, if you read he has two books out now. If you read his first book, He talks about signing Cannibal Corpse and what he heard in the demo tape of that band and how he had already been following the scene bands, as I mentioned, and why he chose to sign this band to Metal Blade. They are not just the biggest selling band in Metal Blade history, they are the biggest selling band in death metal history. I think next to DSI. You've pointed this out before.
Yeah, next to DS, and then Morbid Angels right behind that.
And Morbid Angels slowly creeping up. But Cannibal Corpse, also, they put out the most albums, Cannibal Corpse. So, of course, they have sold the most records.
Yeah, their new one, the one they have coming out is the what, 15?
Put out a new song today that was unbelievable and great and already has 1 million views in a day and a half. Just what?
There you go. There you go. I mean, even though they've got several lineup changes, the spirit, the feel is still there. So to touch back on a point you made earlier,
yeah,
Cannibal Corpse has lost 2/3, 3/4 of their membership, and we're still in. Sepultura, still with you.
Yeah, we're still there. Let's so we started with Shredded Humans.
Shredded Humans, good song, and this is it's not typical death metal as you think of it. We don't get to typical death metal to the end of the record on this one. But what we have is some great riffing. We don't have any of the that Morbid Angel and Obituary does so well. We have a different kind of death metal. I'm doing the best I can.
I don't even know what to make of that sound effect, but that's great. You did well, my friend. Pretty long opening song, co-written by Barnes.
But it's not one of them 90-minute stupid songs.
Right. All the songs are credited to the whole band, which I think we should talk for a second about this lineup. But the lyrics are mostly by Chris Barnes and shared occasionally by other people, Jack Owen, Paul Mazurkiewicz, Alex Webster. This lineup, that's the core original lineup of Cannibal Corpse that would record these first few records. Barnes on vocals, whatever you want to say about him now, and I could say many things that would be unflattering, but what a groundbreaking, incredible performance here that really set the tone. Immediately hit the scene as the greatest vocalist in death metal, like on day one of this.
Oh yeah, intelligible when he wants to.
Yeah,
brutal as shit when he doesn't.
Chuck in Death, not the greatest vocalist.
No,
I love Carcass, Jeff Walker, not the greatest vocalist. I love, if you want to count grindcore as also death metal, I love some of those guys, not the best vocalists. Barnes, Bob Rousset, very underrated, really not talked about, exited the band after a few albums, but excellent job here. Jack Owen, well known in death metal circles beside Cannibal Corpse to go on to Deicide and other bands. Alex Webster, arguably the greatest bass player in death metal history. And you can say the same almost about Paul on drums. Like, he's also unbelievable. Bigger, faster, harder, killer. A great lineup of people to put together this record.
Correct. Moving on to the next track, we have probably the greatest title of all time, Edible Autopsy. Don't know what they were smoking when they came out with that one, but I kind of want to try it and hang out with them that week. This is this one for a band that does no open chords, does no arpeggios, never turns off their distortion pedal. This shows how they are still capable of amazing dynamics. Shredding Humans was faster than a stomp, but slower than death metal. Edible Autopsy is a true on fast death metal track. So they're able to keep it moving forward and keep it interesting. Though the riffs might use 60 to 70% of the same actual notes in the same key, it still sounds like a different song.
Fair enough. And I will also just add that the differences here between, again, Cannibal Corpse early days to these other bands and their first things, when you use the reference OSDM, old school death metal, in reviews and stuff, at least I do, and you're referring to that like Obituary, Maggot Stomp groove, Corpse has the groove, but also they have this incredible technicality and fluidity musically to do just wild motifs and changes that other bands do not have yet. Death is getting there, and Chuck is ambitious enough, creative enough to push it there later, but not
later. And then the next song, Scattered Remains and Scattered Brain. I'm sorry, Scattered Remains.
You have skipped way ahead. Sorry to cut you off. It is Put Them to Death is third. I'm looking at Wikipedia.
You are correct. I apologize. That's a 1 minute, 50-second song. Fuck it. I don't care.
I mean, it's not grindcore, but it's short. Let's put it that way.
It might as well be grindcore.
It's not that fast.
Look, death metal needs to build and create something. Grindcore just there. I'm Napalm Death in 1987. Ow, that hurt my throat. I'm a wuss.
You suffer, but why? Anyway. Nik
Make them
suffers,
suffer.
but why? Mangled, one of my early favorites.
Oh, I skipped 2 songs.
You really
this
did.
is no Mangled is actually the song I want to talk about next. Mangled is a great song. We've got call and response vocals, something you don't get in death metal very often. Again, we are at the beginning of the rainbow. This is Lake Itasca. This is not St. Louis, the confluence of the Mississippi and the Missouri. We are not at the bay in New Orleans. We are at the beginning of the Mississippi River. So we get a lot of things that we don't get later. But this track does more than that. We get some amazing technical, precise riff, like the kind of riff that Dave Mustaine could not play in this day and age. Can play it later, but at this point in time, we have such amazing surgical precision that I would have these dudes take my tonsils out if they did it with aluminum guitar picks, because I'm pretty sure it'd be fine. Keefy's making faces. Maybe
I don't
I'm on the
know.
wrong song.
I don't know what else to say. I love that song. It was actually one of the first ones that I loved from this band. So yeah, no notes.
Moving on, Scattered Remains, Splattered Brains. Okay, that's the song that happened. One of the problems on this record is there are times when they do amazing differentiation, and there are times they don't. Not everything.
The soft underbelly of the record is his next few tracks.
Yeah. Born in the Casket, No Strong Memories.
Good lyrics, decent song, not too long.
Rotting Head, again, short, riffy. We got solos, we got we got Barnes, and I don't know that we could really. I don't know that we could talk him up too much on this one. His vocals on this record,
I don't know, man. I think like he really, you can't understate how fully fledged this dude arrived.
Yeah,
as a vocalist.
In 1990, he is better than most death metal vocalists for the next 30 years.
Today, yeah, for real. He literally set the bar. He invented this level of grotesque gutturals, high screams, a wide dynamic range with really no chill. He has no let up. And if you ever watch the 30 Years of Torment DVD, which is free to watch on YouTube, the band talks about lyric writing and demoing. And they talk about how, like, Paul will go into the studio and whisper because he can't do the screamy voice, but he'll go, like, he writes lyrics. So he'll be like, and then the vocalist will come in, now George, but back then Chris, and he'll be like, right? He'll just do the same. He'll get the patterns and the lyrics down. So like, but basically Barnes did a lot of the heavy lifting here, probably more than any other record. The next 2 records, the first 2 records, he did all the heavy lifting, the majority of it, most of the lyrics, all the vocals, and he really came out of the box like exactly how he has been until he started to slip. So I have to give a lot of eternal early respect to Chris Barnes, and a lot of people, he is their iconic death metal vocalist for a lot of people.
Agreed. Where are we at?
We did Rotting Head. So the undead will feast.
The undead will feast. Here we go. Cannibal Corpse at their disgusting perfection. Riffs for days, thumps for weeks, and that conical explosion of brutality out of Barnes. This record should not be as good as it is. Period.
To mention, got to give a shout out to Webster on the lyrics as well as some sick bass.
I didn't know Emmanuel Lewis wrote on this.
Alex Webster, not Emmanuel Lewis, bro. And not, yeah, okay. Anyway,
I'm sorry, I'm making fun. Bloody Chunks, not as fun. Not if they're coming out your arse.
On a first song that's nondescript.
Yeah, Skull Full of Maggots. Here we go. Boom. No notes.
If you're gonna end a record with these two songs are like, I wonder if there's ever been another death metal record that ended better than this.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna convince somebody into death metal, I'm gonna say Skull Full of Maggots. You don't like that, Just stop. Just
I wish it was longer. That's the only if I had a gripe, I wish it was like a minute longer. It's so short, but I love it.
You know what? The brevity. What did Frank Sinatra say, man? Always leave him wanting more. Old Blue Eyes got it right with death metal.
Sort
Did he like death metal? He probably didn't like.
of.
Although he liked mob guys that killed people, so he probably would like death metal.
I don't think so.
He bought like Henry Hill sold him plane tickets.
Apparently.
I believe Henry. Very trustworthy.
Let's wrap it up. One more track.
Buried in the Backyard.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah.
Amazing.
Go ahead. You go first.
Well, I was gonna say, in addition to how killer this song is, and again, these longer songs don't even feel that long. Just what an amazing ending to the record, especially Bloody Chunks is kind of blah, and then they just crush that last 7 minutes and change of the record on this last two songs. I don't think we mentioned the backing talent on this record. We should mention some surprise guests who ended up performing on here, and I don't mean the bonus track on the reissue. I mean on the record. The one and only Glenn Benton provides backing vocals on Mangled and Skull Full of Maggots, which is where that call and response comes from that you love so much. Me some Glenn Benton. I know you do. Francis H. Howard, I don't know who that is also a backing vocalist on Mangled and Skull Full of Maggots. I probably should know who that is.
He's not Glenn Benton.
He's not. And then the bonus track, we're gonna skip.
No, skip it. The thing about this record, and I'm just gonna sum my business up, and I believe it is your week to. Is it my week?
I did last week.
All right, I'll sum it up, and then you sum up, and then I'll get us out the door in a reasonable fashion. The thing about this record is it's not only a debut record, but it is a debut genre record. Obituary, I love them. You know how much I love Obituary. I repeatedly torture myself to their music. Like I cut myself. I'm not going to say that. I burn myself while listening to them so I can feel the pain that the Tardy brothers are trying to give me. They're not precisely death metal. They're a different thing. No one has ever really discussed it, but it's a different thing. Morbid Angel comes later. Deicide comes a little later. Death is different. This is so, to me, to Nik, this is the very first Tampa Bay death metal record, period. So it's the first music by one band, and it's the first music of a genre. This is when the genre is formed and gilded. And holy shit, is it amazing. It's every death metal record gets boring unless you're named Carcass or Obituary. Truth. Every record. Because you know what? You can only go so heavy. You can only get so brutal. Those bands do something different in order to make that better. So every death metal record's got its squiffy bits. They were amazingly brief at 36 minutes. Could have gone a little shorter. Could have gone a little longer if they'd added a bit more. But at the beginning, when you think about Kill 'Em All compared to Testament, compared to Exodus, compared to their prime records, not their first ones. When you think about, Led Zeppelin 1 compared to the blues rock that comes later, those don't always hold up as well as this record does to Tampa Bay death metal. And it's not just the first Tampa Bay death metal record, but it's the first Cannibal Corpse record. They come out swinging. They come out like Buster Douglas with Mike Tyson. Where's my $24 million? Keefy?
Francis M. Howard is the vocalist of the Brazilian early forerunner death metal band Incubus, and that's why he's on this record. I totally forgot this, but
very cool.
Shame on me, and thank you, Metal Archives, for once again coming through when I don't remember a thing.
You didn't say thank you for Nik's wordiness giving you time to find it, but
Nik's wordiness allowed me to look this up quietly with the mic off. I really can't do any more justice to this than you have already done, sir. What a great series this is going to be. That's all I have to say.
I have never been the biggest Cannibal Corpse fan. I've always enjoyed them. Obviously, I've seen them live twice. I've reviewed them twice. Would love to interview any of them. Don't care. I'll interview the drummer. I'll interview the roadies. The roadies are great riffers.
I have interviewed Paul. I interviewed Alex for the last record, and I have interviewed Eric Rutan, in which we
That
talked
last
about
record
Cannibal.
is amazing.
So good, and this new one's going to be probably pretty.
I am excited and erect. Anything else for this? I mean, is that not appropriate? Is that not is that inappropriate for this subject matter?
After erections, what else is there? Well, or like worm-ridden.
Well, there's one thing you can do after you get erect with Cannibal Corpse.
Let's save it for the right record. Let's go.
Let's go, buddy. Thank you, Keefy, for joining us. Thank you, listeners, for enduring us. Thank you, Cannibal Corpse, for inspiring us. As always, I, of course, am Nik Cameron of Glacially Musical, joined by my good friend, Keefy Chakas. I'll give you his real name at the end. You can follow Keefy's Ghost Cult Mag at all the socials. Just search Ghost Cult Mag. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at glacially_musical or Twitter at NIK_NO_C. Nik no C, because there's no C in Nik. If you can take some time, make a review, make a star, go to the bar, whatever. Thank you very much for joining us this week. This is the Glacially Musical Podcast, and like Cannibal Corpse, it does not play in Peoria.
Are you really on Threads? Is that a
Yes.
thing? Are you posting on Threads?
A little.
Do you think Cannibal Corpse is on
Hit
Threads?
stop!
All right.